broke it.
Okay, so we're on Chav Gil Amud Beis, very top of the page. We'll read this one more time, get to the two dots, then we'll do the Rashis. So this is a quick chazara of the Friday's Gemara. Rekiva Hainatana Kama. Rekiva seems to require a square. He says 70 by 2/3 and 70 by 2/3. And Tanakama also spoke about a square earlier in the Masechta, where he limits you to carrying within a base of Sayim. So what exactly is the difference between a Rekiva and a Tanakama? It could be a Davamuit. There's a small, few inch difference ultimately. We can figure out the exact, but not a very big difference between the two of them, but there is a difference. The Tanya, there's a small amount more than 70 and 2/3 that allows you to carry in a bigger area than that, because according to Rabbi Kiva, it's very defined. It's 70 by 2/3 and 70 by 2/3, and not an inch more. If it's bigger than that 1 inch, then you can't carry anymore in that area. It's too big. While the Chacham add a little bit more to it, and as we've heard, many things are games of inches. Well, this is a field of inches where it's literally that few inches could make the difference. The Kamashir, okay, what is that shear? So Sayim K'Chatzar Mishkan. The shear is you can go up to 2 beisas like the Chatzar Mishkan, and that difference of the 100 by 50. Redistributed into a square is a difference between that amount and 72/3 by 72/3. Okay, it's not a big deal, but it's a deal. There's something there. There's some difference there. It's a davamuit. Yaminanamili. How do I know that there is this allowance to do this? That you have the ability to go beyond 70 and 2/3. Or maybe even more fundamentally, where do you get this idea that the base of Sayim is the shear to give for this concept of when something is surrounded and not surrounded for living purposes, that you have a limitation as to how big that area can be before you can't carry anymore? Big surrounded park is not going to be. You're not going to be allowed to carry in there. So where do you get this idea from of that sheer dafka of beis hasayim? I'm reviewed the makor. I'll tell you where I get it from, because the pasuk says arach hachatzameya ba'am of rochav chamishim b'chamishim. Right, the length of the chutz is 100 amma of the mishkan, and the width is 50 amas b'chamishim. Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean 50 in 50 or 50 by 50? So that seems to be redundant, and if anything, maybe even misleading. So what does that mean, 50 in 50? What does that mean? So Amr Torah, what the Torah is saying by 50 in 50, Tol Chamishim, okay, take the 50, V'savev Chamishim, and wrap it around the 50 and extend the square, because you have two 50s, okay, you take one of those 50s and you wrap it around the other 50, and that's what you have for your allowance to carry. Okay, so that basically and that's the Davamu. When you take that calculation, which Rashi will explain momentarily, that will get you to the Davamu addition. But now that we read the pasuk already, now we still have another curiosity. But Pasha Dekwaba Mike Siv, what is the simple reading of the pasuk? Because clearly, this 1550 is only a rabbinic. This whole Karfev thing is only rabbinic, so it can't be that Torah actually wrote it for that purpose. So what's the actual reason why there's this very cryptic terminology of 50 in 50 when it's not? The width is 50. What do you mean 50 in 50? So he says. So it's a pasha de korban Mike Siv. Abaye says Hemed Mishkan al Sfas Chamishim. Okay, put the Mishkan, the actual sanctuary, the structure, at the very edge of the first 50. Chamishim amal of that it should be a 50 amma space in front of the sanctuary, clear open space. And roughly 20 ammas in all directions. The sides of it, because basically if it's a 50 by 50 square, the second square of the 100 by 50 rectangle of the Mishkan, the second 50, which is essentially a square, the sanctuary was 30 by 10. So roughly 30 by 10, what do you have on each side? So if it's 50 wide, and you have a 10 wide thing, you got 20 on each side to make it 50. And if you have 30 deep, and you to the back is another 50. So on each side, you basically have 50 amas on each side, and it's facing, on the east, it's facing a completely open, relatively open, not completely open, because you had Mizbeach there, but basically an open area of 50 amas in front. So that's the way, that's what the Torah meant by chamishim b'chamishim, that you put the heichal exactly in the second 50. Okay, so let's dive in with our scissors and our cloth here. Let's see here. The kabinayud. Did we do those Rashis at all? Maybe Minan and Mili?
Yeah, we did. We just didn't do the bigger one.
Okay, fine. So let's go right to the big one. So,
I think that we did. Yeah, I'm certain.
Yeah. So Ella Amr Torah Tol Chamishim. Right, so you got that? Ella. We'll just start from there. Ella Amr Torah, about a quarter of the way down. Ella Amr Torah Tol Chamishim Sh'arka Yeser Al Rochvo. You take the 50, which is essentially, that 50 amas is where the length is more than the width, right? Because it's a rectangle 100 by 50. You take the second 50 amas, V'savu chamishim, you surround the first 50 amas. Hanosarim. Okay, devlu shivim amas v'dalet fachim ruvon, which is not 70 and, let's see. Devlu shivim amas v'dalet fachim ruvon, so which is essentially 70 amas and 2/3 of an amma, which is 4 tfachim squared. Ketzat. How do you figure? So basically, Rashi is going to now give us a little bit of a different approach to how you figure out this square. How do you take a 50 by 50 square and put it around another 50 by 50 square? What do you do to make sure you're going to use up as much as every inch of that 50 by 50 square? So you go as follows. So so take that 50 and divide into 5 strips, as you see on the left side of the number 57 in the Pirush Chai. So you got 5 strips of 10 by 50, right? Because that's 50 long, and each one is 10. 10 wide, right? 10 wide and 50 long. So the first part is going to be relatively simple. You take each one of those strips and you put it around the 50 by 50 square on the right side. Okay, now what's that's going to do? Let's keep going. So he says, and the length is 50. And you put one on the east and one on the west. You now have 70. Right, because you took 50, you took 2 strips, you put on the east and west side, so you've added 10 amas in each side on the width, so now it's 50 by 70. The Orcho Chamishim, okay, and now it's 50 by 70, and the length, its length is 50. Od Sim Achas itself Achas Sidarim. I don't know why you have to break it up, like you could just do it at one time, but then you do another 2 going from east to west, on the east side and the west side. So you've now, or north side and south side, sorry, and you've got now 4 strips that surrounded that square. So what do you have now? You basically have essentially 70 by 70, right? Because each one is 7.
The corners.
Well, hold on, let me finish my sentence. So you essentially have 70 by, right? Because each one has been added 20, 10 on one side, 10 on the other side, 10 on top and 10 on the bottom. You have 70 by 70, except that what you haven't filled in are now the corners that are lacking or just have not been filled in. So that's where our last strip comes in. Okay, so you go back to that last strip. Okay, let's see. Okay, Hare Shivim al Shivim Ella. Right, what you have is 70 by 70, but there's a but here. Shakronos pegumin l'chol keren v'keren. Every corner is now exposed to be uncovered. So you've got a nice little square. How big is that square that you have that's not taken care of? That square is 10 amas long, right? By The 10 by 10, right, exactly. Okay, it's a square, so it's 10 by 10, correct. Okay, so we got to fill in a 10 by 10. Now we have a 10 by 50 to take care of each 10 by 10. So you take each one of those, you take 4 out of the 5 blocks on the right side, and you fill it into the 4 corners, and you're good, because each one of those blocks is 10 by 10, because it was 10 by 50, and you broke them into 5, it's 10 by 10. So now you got a perfect square of 70, what do you have?
70 by 70.
70 by 70. The square is filled in, but you have this 10 last block of which is now filled in there in the bottom on the diagram 57. So you've got that thing to spread around to the rest of the square. You can't just let one little box go untaken, unused. Let's see here. Let's continue in the Rashi. El shakornas pegum l'chol keren v'keren esher leser. Ne'atosefes shahosafta. You added that area and you didn't fill it in the corners. So what do? Tol min hachamishim dal chatichos shal yud al yud. You take from the last strip of 50 amas 4 strips, each one of 10 by 10. V'simbedal kornos v'nesmale. You fill in the 4 corners perfectly and beautifully. You have 1 strip of 10 by 10 left to you. Amas. So what do you have? Let's break down. 10 by 10 is 60 by 60, right? Because there are 6 tfachim to an amma. We learned that already a number of times. If you say, what do you do? So you have 60 by 60. If I say, O son, labed ritzua shel shnei tfachim. So if you have 60 by 60, you can make 30 strips of 2 by 2, right? 2 by 2 times 30 is 60 by 60. So you make, what? 10 by 10. What I say? 1 second. Vaseo son lamed make 30 ritzuos shel shnei tfachim, right? 30 times 2 is 60. So you make 30 ritzuos of 2 tfachim.
2 by 10.
2 by 10 hours.
2 by 60 what? 2 by 60 tfachim, because you have 10 amis. So shakulan hein gimel meos amas, which added up together is 300 amas. Because what did you have? You had 300 amas. You started with a 10 by. What did you start with?
10 amas divided into 30, so you have 30 times 10 is 300.
Okay. That for some reason he doesn't draw that. Okay. Okay, fine. So again, you had one little corner left. That corner started off, was it 10 by 10? No, what was it?
Yeah, it was 10 by 10.
It was 10 by 10. So 10 amas by 10 amas, is 100 square amas, which is 600 square tfachim. So 600 square tfachim, and then you what?
It's more. 600. Square tfachim is 3,600 because it's 60 by 60.
Right. Okay. So that's right. So that's where I'm confused. Okay. So you have 30. Right. Okay. Shekulan hen gimel meos amos. Each one of.
It's just the one.
All of them added together is 300 amas by 2.
It wasn't when you place them end to end.
Which is 1,800.
Right. Okay. So you said 1,800. Would you say 1,800?
300 amas is 1,800 tfachim.
Right. And then instead of keeping it a square, you basically
Like
a long line. Okay. So what do you do with these lines? Each one, 30 strips of 2 tfachim. Okay. Shekulan hein gimel meos. Shal gimel meos. Tain ayin l'chol rach. You put 70 on each side. Okay. So that gives you 280. Harei shivim. That's v'dalet fachim al shim v'dalet fachim. So what you now have by taking that little box and making lines out of them, and you go all around. Each side was 70 till now, and now you've made it 70 plus 4 tfachim by 70 plus 4 tfachim. Okay, because you added 4 tfachim to each side, that's 280. Okay, Ella, but same old problem. When you extend the square, by the amount of that square, you're going to cover the square, but then you're going to have a new the corners are going to be exposed again. The corners are exposed 2 tfachim by 2 tfachim because you've added 2 tfachim on each side. Nishru biyadcha esrim amma. Okay, now what you have left after you've taken care of the 280 is 20 amis. Tol mehen shmona tfachim. Okay, so 80 amis is 80 amis. 20. Esrim amma. Esrim amma is 120 tfachim, right? Six tfachim to an amos. You have 20 amis. You have 120 tfachim. Tol mehen shmona tfachim v'sim lekronos v'nismalu. You take 8 of those tfachim. You fill into the corners. What you have left is 18 amas and 4 tfachim barochev tfachayim wide by 2 tfachim. V'hainu davamuit, and this is the davamuit shimbasa lechalko ulahakif mehen. If you want to take the remaining amount and can try to strip down that around, ein magi hatosefas rochav beish shetzba. The addition will not even reach 2/3 of a finger's breadth. The bosa mevid minei ritzua shal reish pei gimel amas. Without tfachim, you want to go all around, you're going to have to meet the circumference of the square, which is 283 amas and 4 tfachim orach lahakif arba ruchos to surround it. So that's that little difference that is what we're talking about. So bottom line is there's a extension of 4 plus tfachim over the 70 by 70 that the Tanakama argues with the Rikiva, and that's the math. Okay. And you'll go over it at home. Okay. Pasha. So Pasha Dekra Linya Mishkan. Okay. So now that you told me what the hidden asmachta is for rabbinic reliance on doing this, but you haven't told me what the simple meaning of the pasuk is. So Pasha Dekra Linya Mishkan B'Maiksiv. So what is that referring to? What is that? Yeah, what Mike said, b'chamishim dekra maihi. What is that extra 50 in the pasuk really referring to as far as the deraisa directive, as opposed to the rabbanon asmachta? We got that down, but what about the real message of the Torah? The other thing is just a hint. So the message is Hemed Mishkan al Svas. Put the Mishkan, the actual sanctuary, on the edge. Shekolin Sham HaChamishim, where the 50 Amis end, Shechatzer of the Chatz Mishinichnasim La Bepischa Shamizrach. When you enter into the eastern entranceway, that's where you should start the structure of the Mishkan. Okay, so I guess he has a diagram there. Kedei. Okay, next Rashi. Kedei shu chamishim amis shechatzel fnei Mishkan. I want 50 amis completely clear before the Mishkan. What you have is 20 on each side. After you make the structure of 30 by 10, you have 50. You have out of 50 amas, 30 is left. 30 was taken up by the length of the heichal. That leaves you 20 in the back, and the width of the Mishkan is 10 amas, leaving you 20 on each side. So you've got a U. A U-shaped situation. Each leg of that U is 20 amis, sort of. Okay, because it says it's 30 krushim, 20 krushim, and the length of each keresh, each sideboard is 1.5 amis. Mishkan tofes eser amis, and the width of the Mishkan is 10 amis. Shishim krushim. As it says, 60 krushim shein teisha amos, ushnei krushim lemiksos. Okay, you have 6 krushim covering the width, which is the width of the Mishkan, which is 9. Right, 6 times 1.5 is 9. Ushnei krushim lemiksos shein gimel amos, and then you have the corners, of course, that close it out. Okay. 1 second, one more time. Shisha krushim shein teisha amos, ushnei krushim l'muksos. So you have 2 krushim on each end of the corners. Shein gimel amos, rochev. There are 3 amis wide. V'amikan lechasos ovayin. Shel tzela. So I guess, in other words, even though you have 9, you have an additional amma, which is a half a width, the half an amma of the crushim in the corner. I don't know if he has a diagram for that, but basically, as the crushim fill in, you're going to have half an amma each side, making it 10. Right there, he's got it there. Yeah. So you see those corner crushim, those corner boards fill in the back wall of the heichal to make it 10 tfachim till the end. 10 amas rather till the end. So 1 second. Right, you have 10 from wall to wall. So really it's going to be 12. It's going to be 12 when you add the width. In other words, you look at the aleph there. It's 10 from wall to wall. But the back wall has to take in not only the 10, but it's got to be 12 because you're adding the am of thickness of the actual keresh. So what you really need is three more amos to be covered by the back wall, because you go from the far ends of the northern southern side. It's actually going to be 12 amos. The back wall, when you're inside the heichal, you're looking at the wall. The wall is 10 amos. But when you measure how much you need, so what you really need is an am and a half on each side, added to the 9 to make it 12, and that's where the crushim, the am and a half crushim, fit in perfectly to complete from 9 to 12, which is what you really need is 12. It's only 10 when you're in the inside.
Is this the same? This is the Mishkan in the desert. First,
Correct.
Right? Then when we did the Beit HaMikdash,
Very different.
It's different.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Much bigger. Shalom Melech made it much bigger.
He did.
Well, I
Based
bet he
on
did.
Aren't we supposed to go by the original story?
No, I get it. No, that was just uniquely for the desert. When Shlomo Melech made it, he had his directives and his Ruach HaKodesh to know that he had to make it much bigger, much more grandiose. This is relatively small. This is not, Yeah, we learned about Shlomo Melech. It was much bigger. These are the psukim in the Navi itself. So let's see here. One more time. And when you place, one second, we can l'chasis of ein shel krushim shel tzela. It's a base. We're up to that base. Shel tzela la'orkoi. So what's it say? Ushnei krushim muksos. You need 2 krushim in the corner. Shein gimel amos. Right. That's we said that already. Right. The 2 krushim in the corners with 1.5 amos each. Okay. Rochev v'ama mikan, and 1 am on each side. L'chaseis uvayin shel krushim, to cover the thickness of the krushim. Shel tzela la'orchoi. I guess the length of that amma that's going beyond, I guess, the 9, I guess that's what you're referring to. Because, in other words, the inside, you have to go 1 more amma beyond the inside of the heichal, so that amma needs to be covered up. That amma v'chetzi needs to be covered up. Archa amma v'chetzi, amma mikan v'chetzi amma mikan lahashlim. Right, because you need 10 when you have 9. You need 1 on the inside part. No, I'm not sure. Once, you need 3. I'm not sure what he's referring to here in this. 1 second. V'ayin shel krushim shel tzela orcha amma v'chetzi amma mikan v'chatzi amma mikan. Not sure what this chatzi amma is. Lahashim ulamali hacholol le'eser. To complete the space of 10. I'm not sure what that a half amma is.
Daled.
What?
Daled.
What's daled?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't see daled. I need a microscope for that. Gimel daled. Okay.
What is it?
In other words,
Half
Scroll
hour
it up a
goes the last
little,
of
it
the
tells
time.
you, if you scroll it up a little, it tells you below there what the different letters were.
Well, in other words, yeah, because in other words, because the back wall, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all you had in the back wall, right, was 6 krushim. That right, the half amma is okay. Of course, it's obvious. The half amma is the distance between 9. Right, you have 9 ammas right now in the back wall. You have 6 krushim. 6 krushim are 9 ammas. To when you, how long will it till? But you're now there's some space. There's a space between that back wall and the side walls that came all the way down. It's a half an amma on each side because those walls were 10 ammas away from each other. So you got to fill in that half amma on each side and the additional amma to parallel the walls. Right there, like you see, because the gimel is the amma that's going to continue the side walls. The half amma is a space that has to be filled in between the 6 krushim and that side wall. No, we're good. I guess everyone's silence is golden. Okay, right. It's not. It seems complicated, but it's not. This actually is pretty easy. Okay, 1 second.
It's half, 1.5 amma each.
Right, so it's 1/2 amma each, but now Barashi is breaking that 1.5 amma down, 1 amma of wall paralleling the wall of the back wall that needs to complete. Right, you can't stop with your typical. No, that last kerish was a little bit different than your typical krushim. It was 1 amma by 1.5 amma. The 1.5 amma being used to complete the amma thickness, and then go a half amma into the space to close up the back wall. Needed to close up the back wall, and therefore those crusher had to be an amma and a half this way, and then 1 amma that way.
The crushing were 1.5 by what?
By 1.
By 1.
Correct. Okay. Let's see here. So we're up to that base. Lahashim ulamalia chalul le'eser. Okay, because you had to complete the 10 airspace, so you needed a half an amma on each side to fill in that 10 amma gap. Okay, that was only filled in by 9 ammas with the 6 krushim. Okay, shatamamidol sof chamishim. Okay, and you when you place it at the end of 50. Over emser rechava shel chatzar, and then right in the middle of the width of the chatzar, nishu mechamishim al chamishim shel chatzar esr amas l'shel sheruchos. So right, so when you put this right in the beginning of the second 50, this structure, this 30 by 10 structure, what you have is 20 amas on each side, forming that U. Right, that's a U basically that you formed around the heichal. Ella, except is one little but. Sha'oveh krushim amayit mehen amul chol tzad. The thickness of the krushim lessened the distance 1 amma, because the thickness of the krushim were 1 amma. So basically, every one of those walls diminished from the area 50 ammas. So you don't really have from the wall to the wall 20 ammas. You really have 19 ammas on each side, and even the back wall is only 19 ammas. Chalal choshiv. But here we're mentioning the airspace, the ovi aksalim, and the thickness of the walls. And that's part of the 20. So we're not really being so exact. We mean from when you take out the airspace of the heichal, what's left is 20 in each direction. Of that 20, 19 is space and 1 is wall. Okay, shall korach on each direction. In front of them is rachel, right on the opening in the front. Okay, right in the top of that U, there was no krushim because there was just opening to get in. Elamosach, there was vaynavil, there was a curtain that allowed you to separate the entranceway to the heichol, to the azara. The azara was the yard before the U, in front of the U. So there was a curtain there that did not require any real width. Okay, orcha yeser mishnayim berchava. That is weiter. Okay, so good. So we're at the 2 dots. We are sufficiently confused, and we're ready to proceed. Okay, right. So we're good. Rabbi Ozer Eimer im haisa archai. So Rabbi Ozer says if the length is more than the width, even 1 amma, that nullifies your ability to use it as a karfeif, which is hookah for dira. You can't carry in there. I really can't carry in there. Vatanya, and that's what Rabbi Elazar says, that you have to have this perfect square. If you don't have the perfect square, you're done. Vatanya Rabbi Elazar Aimer im haisa orcha yesal pishnayim berchava afilu amma achas ematal matocha. If the length is more than double the width, even a little bit, even 1 amma, you cannot carry. So it sounds for Rabbi Elazar in the Mishnah that you need to have a perfect square, and any deviation of the perfect square is not going to work. But here in the Bryce it says, if the length is more than double, slightly more than double the width, that's where you're going to be messed up. So which one is it? Is it the perfect rectangle, or is it the perfect 2 times the width rectangle, or is it the perfect square? So which one is the right Rabbi Elazar? So Amar Bibi Brabaya Kitzanai Masisan, when we learn the Mishnah, you have to make a little bit of an adjustment in the Mishnah. This is one of those rare cases where we're adjusting the Mishnah to coincide with the Brisa. Okay. That's how you read the Mishnah as well. It's got to be more than, it cannot be not even 1 amma more than double the width. So the 100 by 50 is exactly what it needs to be, and if it's slightly more, 10, meaning, like if it's chleis 101 by 40 something, it's not going to work. So isn't that then, if you're talking about the perfect rectangle of a 2 by 100 by 50, so now you're getting into Rabbi Yossi territory. So now you've now changed Rabbi Elazar to make him work out with his brisa, but now he's essentially the same as Rabbi Yossi. So what's the deal? You can't have 2 people saying the exact same thing in the brisa when it sounds that they're saying something different. The difference would be the square within the square of the Rabbanon. Okay, now that perfect square, in terms of what's preferred, that's the machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and the Chachamim and Rabbi Elazar rather. So let's take a look at Rashi. Or we have another brayso that says Orcho Yesa Mishayim Berchava Chatzar Mishkan, just like the Chatzar the Mishkan. Basically, the rules are the same as the Chatzar, the Shari. That's okay. V'avagav Lo Merava, even though it's not a square. V'ainu Arach Kishnayim Barocha, and that's why it's 2 times the length and the width. Avotzfei Mishnayim Barocha, but if it's more than 2 times, even at the slightest amount, like mystery, it's not going to be permissible. Okay, so I get the adjustment, and that makes Rabbi Yossi consistent. That's fine. Behind Rabbi Yossi, Damar Orcha Fila Pishnayim Rechava. Okay, who says that you can have the length up to 2 times the width? So, what exactly is the difference then? The Gemara answers Ikavanayu Rivua Dirvua Rabbanon. The last middle narrow line on the page. Rabbi Elazar Sava Orcha Yosem Mishnayim Rechava. If you have more than 2 times the length of the width, then you cannot carry. But if you ask Rabbi Elazar, what's the fundamental size of a base of Sayim that we want you to carry when it's surrounded by a wall? The answer is going to be 100 by 50. That's the perfect calculation. Kidiksiv, as the Apostle says in the Torah of the Heichel. And that message, right, the Revua B'Revua was the message that that's what you should do. That's the measurement you should use for the base of Sayim, for the limitation of a karfeif. Kidiksiv, as the Torah says, V'lesli Revua. He doesn't really hold of the squaring off business. He's not a big fan of that. Okay, but if you did square it off, and if you didn't want to go, my recommendation, but you wanted to do 70 by 70 or 70, and 2/3 plus a little more. If you wanted to square it, it's not going to become prohibited. Right? Because you can infer that from the words. If it's more than 2 times the width, then it's negated. But if it's less than 2 times the width, and you keep lessening it till you get to the point where the length and the width are essentially the same, that's okay, metalton you could carry. So Rabbi Lazar is telling us that I prefer 2 by 1, okay, but I 2 times the width, but I'll tolerate a square. Rabbi Yossi Savam Ruvas Iker, but Rabbi Yossi says no. The squaring off is the main way to go. I would prefer, if you ask me lechatchila, what kind of karfeif should you build? I would tell you to build a square. And lechatchila, if you ask us, we're going to teach it to you this way. Umiyu, however, afilu archa pi shnayim berchava. Sharyeh. But he'll go the other way, that if Lamais you don't listen to me, and you did it on your own, you made a rectangle 2 times the width, it's okay. Okay, but since he uses the language of even, the implication clearly is that's not the preferred way to go. The preferred way to go is a square. If you go 2 times, I'll accept it. So Mamash, they basically mirror. They flip each other. One says, I prefer the rectangle, the other one says, I prefer the square, and that's enough communion between these two. But at the end of the day, al pi halach, they really don't differ, after the fact.
It doesn't have to be a square, it can be a rectangle. If you're saying al pi halacha, they're both good, then you're saying that you have it a rectangle.
Okay, but there is enough communion. If you ask me, what am I going to tell you? That's enough communion.
Right, one guy prefers the square, one guy
Right.
prefers the rectangle.
Okay, so that's
But
enough
then
communion.
After all that we've gone through,
Okay.
the rectangle is okay.
Well, it's okay, correct, except if you hold like the other Mandi Amar who says it's got to be a square. Right? Rabbi Kiva says it must be a square. He doesn't go for any baloney with the rectangle. He doesn't buy into the whole rectangle thing. Okay, fine. So ready to proceed. Next, where are we? Next 2 dots. Itmar. Right, Rabbi Yossi Omer. So Rabbi Yossi was the one who spoke about the rectangle. Okay. Itmar, Amar of Yosef, Amar of Yudah, Amar Shmuel, Ach Rabbi Yossi. So we learned that Rabbi Yosef, in the name of Rabbi Yudah, in the name of Shmuel, says we follow Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Bibi, Amar of Yudah, Amar Shmuel, Ach Rabbi Kiva. And Rabbi Bibi says in the name of Yudah, the name of Shmuel, that we follow Rabbi Kiva. And they're both taking the lenient positions of each one, both Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Akiva, and they can live together. They could coexist. And I need both statements, which seems a little bit of an obvious point that I can't derive both because they're 2 different opinions, but I need to make both statements. The Ashmin alach Rabbi Yossi, we just told you the alach like Rabbi Yossi avamina adik shamero beis dira. I might take the chumrah of Rabbi Yossi to say you can't carry in a beis hasayim unless you have a little hut or some kind of a apartment there, a living area, right? We said that's what he held, that you also needed an actual living area. And that Rabbi Akiva says, I don't go for that. I don't need that. That's the kula of Rabbi Akiva, that you don't need any justification other than it being surrounded to carry in a karfeif which up to beis hasayim. While Rabbi Yossi said, no, you did need some justification to carry there if you need some level of living aspect, and that Rabbi Akiva doesn't need. So in that regard, we follow Rabbi Kiva. If I just told we follow Rabbi Yossi, you would never know that we don't take him all the way. Beis Dira Kamashmal, and the Chiddush is halach Rabbi Kiva, that we follow Rabbi Kiva on that aspect. V'yashmir halach Rabbi Kiva, and if I just told you halach like Rabbi Kiva, how about me to arach v'cut and light? I would say you can't go rectangular because Rabbi Kiva holds a square is a square is a square, and you can't do anything else but a square. Kamash halach Rabbi Yossi. We now learn halach like Rabbi Yossi, so now we know to grab both ends of the kuladika spectrum, and that you don't need a square, you can go rectangular, and you don't need any justification to make that karfeif, even if there's nothing living there at all. There's no aspect of living in that area. It's still going to be good to go, and you can carry up to beis hasayim, and we'll pick this up tomorrow.